How's it? Welcome to the weekly Pony Games podcast. I'm joined by Thomas Forsyth, Rory Capel, my boy Mason Allen in the back there on his PC, making sure this all runs smoothly. We're going to be joined by special guests. We have Meg the vet, one of the STRUK official vets. Colin Carson, he's happy to hop on board. We know he's got a great reputation with his bookies' views, sometimes controversial, so it could be fun. And then we'll try and get some international riders on as well, just to update us and give us sort of the inside scoop about what's happening over in their part of the world. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, so today we've got joining us, we have Rory Capel. He is the owner of STRUK Events. And I was just hoping he'd be able to tell us a little bit more about himself and sort of why he's on here today.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm pleased to be on the podcast. I'm chief executive of STRUK Events. So we've been running now since we incorporated in 2017, and it's been a kind of whirlwind few years where we've kind of grown and now we're all booked out for all of our shows, and it's kind of just been a hell of a ride. So I'm here to kind of talk about our shows that come in, as well as just all the kind of shows that come in and the season ahead, and just general random stuff about games and gossip, getting the horses ready, training, all that kind of stuff. So I'm pleased to be joining these guys here on the podcast, and looking forward to sharing it all with you all at home.
Enjoying a drink with the boys.
Yeah.
And possibly some other future guests. I know we have Megan Ma joining us. She's like our local vet that travels to a lot of the shows. We'll try and get on a couple of international riders. I know we have Colin Carson, who's happy to join us as well, give us a bit of international gossip and what's going on, give us his controversial bookies view on the situation as well. So it should be a good one. Who's the new chairperson of MGA? It was Mike who?
Mike Whitchurch.
Whitchurch. He was super helpful with that one competition that I was at. Like, I don't know him very well, but
he's a nice guy. He's just obviously very inexperienced, but he's a very nice guy.
And so obviously you and him both have, well, there could be like potential for clashing with STRUK and MGA.
Potentially, I think we're going to be all right this year. I think now that we're starting in April, if we couldn't have started in April, then yeah, we'd have had to just kind of taken the hit and just clash with them. But I think because now we can get going in April, we'll be all right just about. Do
you go to an effort to do you communicate with MGA to make sure it doesn't?
Yeah, Mike's that's one of my things I really like about Mike. He's just the moment he's in charge, straight away he just got in touch with me and sort of said what we do kind of thing. And
you know why he got in touch with you though? Yes. I don't know. I just think like if there was a clash, like you like STRUK's got such a big following already.
Yeah, I think if he at the start when we clashed, it was very much half and half, wasn't it? I think half, particularly the younger age groups, went to MGA. Kind of fair enough. We do focus on the older ones, opens and 18s, and whereas we'd have more of the opens and sort of half and half with the younger ones. But I think if we were to clash now, I think we'd still probably sell out for our events, because obviously we're limited anyway to one arena. So I think we'd have no problem selling out. It would just be whether. So I'm sure they can still run at a profit and whatever, and it'll be fine. It'll just obviously be annoying if we missed a few of the top teams over us. That'd be the only annoying thing about it.
Missed a few of the top teams from?
Sorry?
There's top teams like splitting between the shows. You won't have all the teams for one show.
Yeah, that would be shitty.
That was the main thing we missed when we had that British Champs in 2019 when they clashed.
Yeah, at the same time as Inter-Counties.
That was it. Because for us, our main opposition that year was the Irish, because obviously they were obviously on fire that year. So we sort of chatted with them and sort of said, where are you going? Because we want to ride against you. And they said, we'll come to Dallas. We'd rather ride Dallas. So us and them, and it was Joe Garnett's team and Shropshire Navy. So the four one of the bigger teams of the year all went to Dallas, and we were missing having South Shropshire with us really, because obviously they went to Inter-Counties and just walked it and won it by miles, because obviously none of us were there. So if they'd have come to us, then we'd have really had like a really top everybody in the final. We're just lacking having them, which is a shame. But
yeah,
still, that's why our season starts in March and basically finishes in June, and then the MJGB season basically starts start of May, end of April, and then runs through to August, September. So we kind of have split the season in that way. So we run quite similarly to how the French run, because they start early and finish in June as well over there. So if you start in March and run through till June, you're unaffected by anything on the way through. I mean, you got your England selections and whatever country selections you're riding for in that time, but you're not affected. When you get to sort of June, July, August, you're suddenly doing all the internationals. So that's the one thing that's a hard work now with inter-counties. Obviously, it's a great show, kind of finishes off the year in August, but you've got, world champs, European champs, world individuals. So you basically have 2 months away from your team, and suddenly together again. So all that kind of momentum you built up at the start of the season, it just drops because you're just not riding with them for the whole month or so. So that's why we finish in June, because I think from that point onwards, everyone goes on to the international stuff, or if you're not, you're working towards it, or in the younger age groups, whatever.
How do you think the current restrictions will affect the shows you are running?
I think starting in it's going to be a little bit. Well, I think we need to be very, very careful. Obviously, make sure we're all by the book. But I think because they've kind of bundled last year, we started before sport, organised sport was actually allowed. Because obviously we could operate in two, so individuals was allowed and things like that. So we could start a little bit earlier before team sports could, and then when organised team sports started, it all started because we were starting together with football and everything going on. It means we can go straight into having teams and pairs and back, and that being fine and allowed as long as we are following the regulations, whatever. So I think it's going to be okay. Obviously, no overnight stay for the nights, so we've had to sort of change that up into 1-day shows. But I think it's going to be the most competitive 1-day shows there's probably ever been, because we've managed to do a system where we've got 2 heats, so you get the right people into the right finals, and then have the final. So you should still have a quality final that you would have had anyway from a weekend competition. So I think it'll still feel like you're riding at a top competition, and it'll be a good start to the season for everybody ahead of the weekend shows, which hopefully starts the following weekend with the English champs, unless anything gets pushed back. But it should be that following weekend. We have our first team show.
You're gonna smash you, Rory. Holy crap! I can sense it already. And you're riding with Ben.
Riding against Jack in another pair, because I know I did the pairs with Alex Edwards last year at the British. But obviously, Jack wasn't there, so this is the first time I'd have ridden in a pairs against Jack in another pair ever in Open. That's gonna be weird.
Okay. That's interesting. Who's Jack riding with?
Guy.
Okay.
That's another big one.
I've got a lot of pony power between the two of them. Yeah.
Who else has quite a lot of pony power?
Who else?
Yeah. Do you want to know? I can tell you. You don't need to think too hard.
Well, I think you guys might be up there on the pace, maybe. Just about.
I don't even think it's the pace you need to worry about, Gray. It's just the fact that we're just going to be better than you.
Oh, quite some sort. Love to hear it. I think there's going to be like so much shit at that first show. It's just there's going to be carnage. I mean, I would imagine the under 15s lot that ride on the Friday over at Western Lawns, they'll be quite neat and tidy because they'll be out, practicing as much as they can every day, kind of thing. When it gets to us on the Sunday at Dallas, I think we're going to have poles, mugs, bins, literally flying everywhere.
So you're going to be trotting.
Everyone's, I think trotting through the heats might get you into the A final. I think that might be the standard. Hopefully, by the time we get to the finals, everyone will kind of be hitting a bit more form, but we'll see.
Looking forward to it. And then who's Dion riding with now?
Dion's riding with Mike at that pairs at the nights. So they obviously they cruised into the semis at the British last year, and then kind of had a bit of a mare in the semis and didn't make the final. But they should be a good pairing.
Is Mitch doing it?
No, because he would be doing it with Guy. And I think I don't know why he's not going, but it might just be the fact that it's 1 day, and they're probably the same distance that we are, which is quite a trek to do in 1 day, because they're the other side. We're sort of southwest and they're southeast, so that's probably about a 3.5, maybe even 4 hour drive for them. Mm-hmm. So I imagine they just thought for 1 day, which is fair enough. I think anyone that's quite far away, unless they're super keen, probably giving it a miss with it being 1 day. So it's annoying. But the most annoying thing is that it's literally the day after where you'll be allowed to stay overnight. So when we're riding on the 11th, and then on the 12th is when your overnight stay is allowed again.
Okay, so, that's how it works.
I thought it was. This is how it was going to be for a while. So it's only their first competition. That's 1 day.
Only that first one. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. English champs should be the first proper we can stay over and ride kind of thing. Okay. And it's put back for whatever reason. But I mean, touch wood. I can't see things pushed back at the moment, unless the kids get back to school and we all get fucked up again.
So you recommend that the kids don't go back to school and we ride ponies?
I can't recommend that, but I mean, it seems a bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very mixed view on that. I'm sure it's good for the parents having to homeschool and stuff, but it seems odd that each sort of part of society that we know definitely isn't vaccinated is the first part of society we're going to let out. It seems a bit odd to me.
Mm-hmm. Hot takes.
Yeah.
Open the pubs. Joking. I'd hate for them to open the pubs, then I have to go back to work. What's happening with Western Lawns? Last time there was a bit of drama. Last I heard.
No, I think they're all sorted now. They got there's a new lady I can't remember the name of who's also been brought in. So she's been emailing me a bit. So and also Maz, who you know Maz. She's obviously sorting things. I think they're doing loads of stuff now. Got sort of dressage shows and all things planned, and obviously very accommodating towards us. And we've got loads of dates booked with them for 2022 as well. So yours.
So how many STRUK competitions are there this year? Or why do I believe there are only 2?
There's only 2.
I don't know. How many STRUK competitions are there this year?
2.
Where did I hear that there were only 2?
I don't know. Who told you that?
Must have been Tom.
Was not.
We got the nights.
Might have been a bad dream. Might have been a nightmare.
We've got the nights in April, which is obviously having to be a one-day thing, and then we got the May bank holiday, the first May bank holiday, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and that's at Western Lawns for the league starter, so first team show with STRUK anyway. And then 22nd, 23rd of May is the British champs for us at Dallas. And then I want to say something like 4th to the 6th of June or something like that. It's a 3-day show. It's the STRUK individuals back at Western Lawns again.
Yeah.
And then our last one is towards the end of June. I think it's 20th, 21st, which is the spring show. Obviously not in spring anymore, but it's last year the spring show was in October. So this year the spring show is in June. So we're working our way back to spring shows. Spring by 2022. And that's our last one. And until we start our sort of winter stuff again in October. So yours. I was looking at the dates actually. The first 7 shows are 7 different venues.
It's pretty good, eh?
Yeah, for the team shows anyway. We're at Aston the Walls for English champs, Broome for spring champs, Western Lawns for the league starter, and then we're at Arena UK for Pete's one, and then British champs at Dallas, and then I think it's Newark for the UK Masters. So I think that's our 7 shows, 7 different venues. So that'd be quite fun to go different places.
Pairs is the first competition of the year for us. Just so anyone. I'm not too worried about Dion anymore. I cracked her this one time in competition, and I'm convinced I can do it again. So
okay.
So Dion, it's on. She was like, "Oh no, you won't get in my head," and then she like ignores you and blocks you out, which just means that like in her head you're actually screaming at her. She's hearing you. And then I don't think Ben can be cracked, but I haven't tried.
I'm sure you'll try.
And you can only crack someone if you're riding well, because there's no point having a dig and then
you can't get one by one and be like, "I'm coming for you."
Yeah. So a bit of luck is involved always.
Yeah.
Does anyone get in your head?
I don't think anyone. I haven't felt anyone get in my head.
You deal with your own demons, though.
I overthink things. I'm trying to think who used to be annoying to ride against. No one really stands out. I'm trying to think. I think probably the ride I've most been aware of. I don't think he doesn't do anything. It's just whenever I'm going last and then I'm riding against Colin Verdelan, because you just like his team will just be nowhere. They'll be like sort of like 4th or 5th in the race. Then Colin comes out and they're suddenly 1st. So no matter how far ahead, if you're not going last,
Colin's shitting yourself.
We had when we went there for the Grand Reese 2019, and we were level points of his French team that year. They went on to win the Champions League, and we were level with them going to the last race. It was fucking 4 flag, and I was going last, and I was out there. I had about half pitch lead over him, but I knew he was coming for me. I was just thinking fuck the whole way, and then as I got it in, I mean, it was already a good win anyway because we won it on the last race. I was like, come on, because he was fucking coming for me. I was shitting myself.
And how was it? Did you win that race?
Good competition. It's only a weekend competition, and we were the sort of international guest team. So it was me, Harry Willis, Emily Norton, and then Maya and Jens from Denmark riding as a team. And we were really good. And then won it on the last race and got the win. So yeah, that was a good one. And obviously the team that we beat then obviously went on to win the Champions League. So we beat the ones that ended up as sort of the best team in Europe. So. If we could done it a month later, that'd been fucking ideal.
Would have been ideal, yeah. Imagine the party you'd have after winning Champions League.
Oh, I mean, I've only ever had commiseration parties over there because we fucked it up every time. So we came, so its very first year we came second. We had a 20-point lead, fucked it up somehow, and came second. And then the other years we've just not ridden well at all, and not gone well. So
talking about Champions League and getting ponies to Champions League, your dad was supposedly had like the inside scoop, but
he's always he's sort of quite knowledgeable on that kind of stuff. But to be honest, it's been kind of vets have been more useful with finding out stuff. Like we found out recently that the quarantine thing, which we thought meant that literally your horse stays at home forever for like 6 weeks, whatever it was, something crazy. All that means actually your horse has to stay in the country for 6 weeks.
So you can still go to local competitions.
Still compete, yeah. So because originally it was like, well, none of us can go because otherwise we'd have to not compete in England for 6 weeks. We're not going to do that. But obviously that's changed now. It means that if you were going to go to Denmark to do Europeans and then come back and then go out again, you couldn't do that. That's all it would mean.
So you can't do Europeans and
no, I mean
world pairs.
Well, pairs is in this country, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah. Oh, yes, that's in England.
Yeah. So it's just Europeans that effect. So it just means that, I mean, you could probably work it out that if you really wanted to adapt desperately, you could probably stay somewhere for a week in between abroad and then go on to Champions League. But I don't think realistically anyone would probably do Europeans and Champions League, mainly because I don't think many open riders from this country are going to go to Europeans just because of the Brexit issue. Because I mean, Champions League, we have the same cost from getting over to France, but obviously you don't have the huge entry fee that comes with Europeans. You have a cheaper. It's only 250 euros, whatever it is for Champions League, where it's more like a few thousand for Europeans. So you can it's just about justifiable. We're all saving up the pennies to make sure we can try and afford to go anyway. So, but obviously it's meant a couple of teams have had to pull out, which is a shame. With South Shropshire have dropped out, and I think the Leicester Forest East team, who got their spot because obviously they pulled out, also couldn't go. So a couple of had to put out, and it might be more nearer the time. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, the costs might slim nearer the time. Who knows what's going to happen with all this Brexit stuff? But
hopefully, $4,000 to get a pony over is a lot.
It's mental. I don't think it'll be that. I mean, there'll be ways of slimming that cost down. But yeah, I mean, I think to do Europeans, which is more expensive anyway, it's probably about double the price to go to Denmark than it does to France anyway. Plus the extra cost is just going to be unrealistic for most of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, obviously there will be people that kind of forward. It'll be interesting to see what England, Wales, Scotland, and whatever what teams they can put out for Europeans, if they can put out any teams at all. Because usually it's just you picked and you go, and it's an honour to ride for your country, but when it's also going to cost an absolute arm and a leg, it's going to make it a bit more trickier. I think you should get Jack on at some point to tell the story about him shitting himself.
Yeah, that's a good story.
It is it's a brilliant story.
You had your first experience of being by Bella a bit last year, so how did you find that? I
actually said very recently to Tom that was probably one of my most beneficial trainings. I could take the most away from it. It's just nice to have the whole team on the same sort of wavelength, the same end goal, and obviously everyone wants to win, but with the same strategy, and you can sort of put that strategy on someone else. So if I say, guys, no, we have to we're going to ride for third in this race. Don't push it on the way back or whatever. And everyone does that, and it goes fucking horribly. Then it's like it's on me. You know, I would never say that, but like, yeah, then that's on me. But if you have a trainer who can see like from a bigger picture, and it's obviously if they're experienced enough to make that call, then it's nice that you don't have to worry about it as a rider.
You do your bit, and then if you've done that right, you're done, kind of thing. Yeah.
Because like we had your mum in the arena that one time. It's not very often that 3 South Africans on a team end up winning a championship or winning a title. So that was quite exciting. I think it definitely helps having her on the field.
But that was it when I rode with you guys at English Champs, and then we were very. I mean, we were quite far behind at one point where we kept on our sort of our mission and our plan, and we went and pulled it back and won it in the last few races, didn't we? Over there, that was a great win there. So, and
we didn't win it by the last race though. Like it was in that last race we had to place like top 3, I think.
That was it, because I think we had someone shouting the scores, and they put the wrong score. We thought we won it before the last race, and then we had the shout through that actually no, we still had to come second from last to make sure. We were like, just don't that
guy. What else do you have to ask about trainers? I can tell you about South African trainers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, who first started? Was anyone training? Was anyone in South Africa like that was sort of pushing the buttons with how you did things?
Yeah, so in South Africa we don't really have trainers. Our trainer was probably Meg most of the time.
Fair dues.
Hey?
Good fair dues?
Yeah. So, and that worked well, but then obviously there's just added pressure for Meg, and she has to, or whoever's keeping the track, usually Meg, would have to like pull out their little race list between each race and go over riding orders. So it's like, obviously you don't have the time to focus on your own race. Yeah. Not that it was ever a problem for me. But yeah. And then we had a couple of other, like Meg's dad, Ian, he was like our team coach for like sort of our early years.
Yeah.
Super duper helpful. But that was obviously like back then South Africa barely knew any rules of games at all. We sort of made up our own races. Everything was
about kind of just sort of made up things as we went along, and it was
equipment was all close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough.
That'll do. Very well. I was do you know Sue Adcock, who trains? Well, she did train South Shropshire for a bit. And Martin Lyons now trains them. But do you know
Martin? Who? Sorry, Lyons?
Sue Adcock or Paul Adcock? Yeah. So obviously Sue's awesome. But I remember when I was in Mini, I was riding for Somerset under 12s, and turned up to training for a training session, and there's this woman there. I'd never met her. It was Sue, and I didn't know her. She didn't know me, and I just found her so like, she was at the time. I was like, I remember saying to my mum when I was a kid, I was like, she's just so like too nice, and just and she was like, like, oh, well done, even when I did stuff shit, and I was like, why is she being so like, I didn't like it. Anyway, went to the first show with her, completely different in the rig, and she was like shouting and like, if you didn't do what she said, you're having to go. And I was like, this is what I want. This is good. I like this. This is much more normal. And since then, me and Sue got on really, really well, and she trained me for that a year or two as a mini. But I think having someone more hands-on in teams, 100% is needed. I don't know if it's as needed in individuals or pairs, but for teams, I think because you need to get everyone together and really control it. I think you have to have someone quite hands-on.
Yeah, I quite like to have a trainer in with me and Kyle at pairs. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I have to tell him what's going on with the scores and stuff.
Yeah,
and then I'm focusing on the race, I forget to do that.
That's it. I think Bella comes in with me and Jack for pairs. But I think in pairs, me and Jack sort a lot of what we do between ourselves. And then obviously Bella does, will say things as well. But I think teams is much more where we really need her as a coach. And then I found in the last sort of year individuals. I quite like going in by myself for individual. I think it's nice just to kind of try and get yourself focused and And what you need someone there to kind of with a water and whatever to grab your horse in between a race every now and then, have a breather, which usually for me I need in a in a fight. Seems to be the most. That's what I'm trying to get really fit. Really, I find individuals I just get fucked every time. 100%. I just get really.
Like, 2 vaulting races in a row, and you're panting.
That's it. I'm at the point now where I'm like, I don't want to go too fast into certain races. I can't be fucked to get off and get on again because I'm too obviously race kind of thing. Even races like Carton, just because you're kicking and turning and using a lot of energy just doing that, I'm puffing after doing a Carton race, and it's just like that's sort of been behind a lot of why I want to get fit as well, because like individuals just kills me.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. And then I was trained by Ian Hopkins then for 3 years in Monmouth, so age 15 up to 17, 18.
How's he? He seems quite passionate. He when one of his sons wins a race, I mean, it's like he's won. He's having a great time.
That's it. I think through trainers up to the age before I was with Ian, obviously I had Bella through younger age groups going up as well, but I had people like Surak got on and off. But I think Ian taught me a lot. A lot. I think at that point I learned a lot from Ian, and it was really, really things like I thought at that point, as like 15, 16, when I'd kind of like learned as much as I could about games. And then the things I kind of learned from Ian about doing certain things was kind of like a bit like when Carl, I remember you at the individuals last year when you were Sadie and Pete in the box, and they were like analysing how things go, and you're like, whoa, mind blown, fucking hell. And that was a year first year riding under Ian with Monmouth. I definitely learned a lot about how to ride certain things. So yeah, I think I'm grateful to have had those 3 years. People like slag off Monmouth a lot, or I mean, they did a lot back then. At that point, it was basically if you ride for Monmouth, you don't get picked for an England team, and it literally was like that. It's not like that anymore. I'm pleased to say that's changed now. But there was a lot of corruption back then, which there isn't as much now.
As much.
Yeah, there's always going to be corruption in any national team where they've got a lot of people to pick from.
Yeah,
it's when it's on purpose versus just kind of blind bias, which you don't realise you're being biased, kind of thing. I think I'm absolutely fine if people pick certain riders because they genuinely believe they're the best. And it's kind of like, well, you should have put that person, but you thought that person. As long as you're honest with yourself, and it's like, and if that team goes and wins, then kind of fair enough. But at that point, it was literally like you bought a certain horse and a certain selector, you get picked. You ride for Monmouth, you don't get picked. And it was for me, it was like I can go ride for one of the best teams and ride for Monmouth and have a great domestic season with the team and not compete internationally. And that's what I did. And I don't regret it at all. It meant that I didn't get picked. I was second in the world individuals my last year of juniors and second in the world pairs, nowhere near the England team. The year before that, I was again in all the individual finals, world pairs finals, nowhere near the England team. I was just written off completely from it, just because of who I rode for, I think, really. But I don't regret it at all because, looking back now, a lot of my year I was riding in England teams at that point. Most of them don't ride anymore, and I've kind of I think not getting picked and having that kind of ag against it always pushed me on to do better things, kind of thing. So I see a lot of people, sort of particularly young ones, sort of getting really like upset when they don't get picked for teams now, and I think you just got to take that and make yourself better from it rather than be defeatist about it, because I think that was why it was junior individuals, but it's still I was nearly won it that year. I was 1 point off Mackenzie Taylor, who won it that year. I think what pushed me to do that well would have been the fact that I was getting this kind of treatment from the current at that point the England selection then. But I must say now with Pete being in charge the last few years, I think it's all kind of clearing up. There's also been this horrible blaming culture in England for years, and this has only just started to go now. And I have to give credit to Pete and all the kind of selectors and trainers currently doing it all now, because it used to be riding for England. I won't name names, but there were certain people that literally wanted a scapegoat before we'd even started the competition. So England, obviously, it's lesser now because England isn't as quite as ridiculously higher than everyone else as they used to be, kind of thing. Like it used to be, if you were England and you didn't win, shit, kind of thing, because it was like no one else anywhere near. Now you've got everyone catching up. Particularly like the French have been winning quite a lot recently. You've got New Zealand up there as well. All these teams coming up now that are kind of on a level with Germany and people like that, or with England. But it used to be literally before you'd even start, there'd be someone picked to be a scapegoat. So if you didn't win, that person got the blame, kind of thing.
Hectic. Like the fifth rider's like the weakest link.
Yeah. So I had 2015, we won. There was a rider that was basically picked as a scapegoat there, but we won, so it didn't matter. 2016 was World Teams in Ireland. You guys were there, weren't you? Yeah. So we came second to France, who rode awesome and deserved to win. I was the scapegoat that year. It was my first World Team. I made one mistake in the 2-part final, and all I heard through the grapevine was, it was Rory fucked it for them. Rory fucked it, yeah. Because someone else who was involved with England decided that I was going to be the one to blame. 2 years later, back to World Teams again. I'm in the team. I'm not the scapegoat this time because I've been in the team before, so it's a bit too risky to put me as a scapegoat. So they put someone else as the scapegoat that hasn't been picked a couple of years, and that person gets the blame because they didn't win. And that's basically how it was for years, and it was horrible. It was not. I remember thinking when I rode in that last team, when someone else got the blame. I mean, it was horrible enough when I got the blame, but someone else got the blame, and I was like, I don't want to ride for England. I mean, I love riding for my country, but this is shit and disgusting and horrible. And it was like a really toxic atmosphere. But it made the campsite. I find it made the camps awkward at times because it was like when didn't do badly, and it was like I just didn't like it. And then, but I must say, since Pete came in and the current bunch in the committee, I think they're all good. And 2019, when I rode them at Euros, that was back in Ireland where we were at World Teams a few years before. We had all sorts of problems because, first of all, Sam Clements was in the team. He had to pull out. He couldn't go. I can't remember why, but he couldn't go. So then, who was it? I think Ellie Tutt then came in as reserve into the team. And then we got there and Said's ponies had a problem. Ness had a problem. So she pulled out. So then we had Greg, who was called in already as like an emergency reserve that was called in last minute, then straight into our team. And he was also riding in the individuals. So we had a rider doing 2 competitions on 2 different ponies. So he was sort of exhausted himself doing that. And then we got Sadie back as a reserve on her other pony, which her sister was riding. So we got sort of everyone sort of doubling up. And we get into the final. I guess it's probably the really strong Irish team, one of their strongest teams. Then we I think after the first half, we were 1 point behind or 1 point ahead of them. And then about halfway through the second part of the final, Eddie's horse pulls up lame. So Eddie then goes out. Sage then comes in on her second pony coming into the arena. And I feel like the team spirit we had in that team in terms of keeping, I mean, we didn't only win, but we won with 2 races to go in the end. We pulled ahead, and it was just like that kind of that confidence and determination to work for each other to try and win this. And that was awesome. And I don't know, for me personally, I don't think that would have happened in any other England team I've ridden in before, because usually it would have been like, oh, well, it's their fault because they didn't turn up or they didn't do this. Whereas that one was like, no, we're fighting for each other here and we're gonna get the win, and we did. Yeah, England's definitely turned a corner in my eyes. Anyway, I found it all toxic and horrible before.
Yo, that's insane! What a cool story, eh?
That's good.
I wish
all these little kids, well, not even little kids, the under 18s lot as well, the sort of top end of those 17, and they get really upset because they've not been picked for a team. I didn't get picked for a single England team ever until Open, ever. Not even in the younger age groups and under 12s, whatever. The only England team I rode for was through the Pony Club at Royal Windsor Horse Show, so it's separate from MGA. And obviously I've got on to some great things in Opens and ridden for England lots of times in Open. So I think anyone that's sort of feeling hard done by in the younger age groups or just, desperate to get to that international stage, I would always say just focus on your team you're riding with, get a good bunch around you that you're riding with, domestic season, and enjoy that, ride your best you can, and then just forget about it until it comes, and it will come, kind of thing.
What's your team strategy for, let's say, your first team competition? Which one is it? at Western Lawns, is it?
English champs will be the first one.
And what's like your go-to strategy going into a team competition? Like your first session?
I don't know. So sessions are a weird one. I think finals, you really focus on what you're doing. Sessions, I don't know if we are quite as articulate about how much we.
You trying to win races, or are you just trying to sort of cruise through no mistakes
points and getting things going? I think what we it's just getting the points and that you need, and then if you've had two solid sessions and you're easily into a final, your third session's when you go, actually, I think I can do this fast. I want to try it out, kind of thing, and that's when you kind of experiment as a team and think, we've got this race in the final. Let's put the pace on this one because, you know. You might. I mean, if in the third session, if you're already easily into a final, you're thinking about resting the horses, kind of thing, and just kind of cruising through the motions, not making mistakes, and just going up and down. So they're resting the horses. But then if it's the odd race, so say we've got a tyre in the final, we'd hit that tyre race hard in the heats to kind of prepare ourselves for the final and see how fast we can do it, kind of thing. So I mean, like I say, with Champions League, that's the only one, and that's what we really fucked up on in 2019 when we went there. Is the sessions are like finals over there, and it's really hard not to get drawn into the racing because particularly the French riders, some really talented riders over there. Over in England, you do a 2 flag race, you get it right, and you'll come in top three, top 2, even maybe like most of the time, but just by getting it right, and it's that kind of accuracy. In France, and all the other, they all hit those kind of races, those 2 mugs, those 2 flags ridiculously fast, and a lot of them screw it up. So they'll all bomb it, kind of thing, and then you'll get kind of 3 screwing it up, but then 3 or 4 get it right. So you get the race right, and suddenly you're only getting 3-4 points, and you're like, I'd get 7 or 8 in England by doing this, and it's just that kind of like you have to be on it in the sessions. But it's also really hard not to get drawn into that racing because they just go in every race, and it's sort of like we kind of have to go, but there's also got to be that kind of sensibleness of certain races are just an absolute nightmare, and other races are just quality, and you have to just go and I mean, like Pyramid over there, they use the same pyramids that we have in STRUK, the slightly smaller ones, and obviously they've been practicing with them for years and years and years over there, and that's a speed race pretty much over there. I don't think you don't see anyone like really easing off too much for the put-ons. It's mental.
Same like Thomas. Thomas doesn't check for his put-ons, so we'll be fine. No, that's crazy, eh? I remember watching
at Le Bond as well, and it's sort of like because you have to kind of go until, but then it's also really hard to work out quite what's going on because obviously when you've got 6 lanes, you can kind of easily gather how many are down. 8 lanes, it's really hard to keep a track of. Like I haven't seen anyone go down, but there might be 3 down on the other side. Like I haven't seen. So in my head, I'm thinking I need to keep fucking going. When actually there could be 3 down the far side, and I should be taking the pace off. It's really hard to judge for 8 lanes.
I remember watching the 6th rider, like the reserve, like the 6th rider competition when we were in Le Bond as well. And everyone was just so fast. It was crazy. I remember watching Mug shuffle, and no one took the pace off. Like every single person was flat out. And maybe 2 mistakes in the race. Crazy. And you must ask Pete about his 2 mug that he won at the European individuals 10 years ago, because I think that how he won that race versus how you have to win a 2 mug race now kind of shows how much has developed in the sport in the last 10 years. I've heard about this. I heard about a trotting victory.
Make a note to ask him about it because he won a TV by winning that race, and make sure you ask him about it for sure.
I think I've heard a little bit about it already.
Yeah.
Yo.
But yeah, there you are. A bit of a scoop on the old international scene for me for the last sort of 10 years, how it's been. And
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, again, you can bring it up when Pete comes on and see him and put that to him and see what he has to say about it all. So I do think it's all improved drastically since he's come in. I mean, 2018 was his first year in charge. And like I said, I still felt like it was about them, but then he's kind of sorted things out. And I think we've definitely turned the corner with England, and obviously it works out last time in 2019 because they won every show. So it's obviously working. I think teams is just about. There's so many riders now with ability that it's just about that kind of team cohesion and getting and that kind of motivation as a team to do well. So it's also kind of picking characters. I think it's hard one to judge because when you're picking a team, you're picking whatever the 5 best riders are. But I think you really have to think about also that person's, a loose cannon, that person's. You got to kind of think about their mindset as well, and like how they're going to gel together. You got 2 very different thinking people in a team. Is hard.
We can talk about pony preparation for the season. What sort of training we're doing?
Yeah. In the little video that you've got of me, which I presume you'll use it like a later week, I presume, for the one of me. I was talking about that. But yeah, I was saying, I think a horse is really, there's no excuse to not have horses fit for this season. So I'd like to think going into it, we're going to have the fittest bunch of horses in the British season that we've ever had, really, because a lot of people
have so much time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if people are still working, they've now got weekends free. Obviously, it's getting lighter every day as well. So the next few weeks coming up, people, even finishing at 5, 5:30, can still get a quick ride in at the end of the day, kind of thing. Particularly if you're working from home, because obviously you're literally, you can finish your last call of the day or whatever and get straight out on your horse and go and ride, kind of thing. So, because I know it was kind of like a traditional bunch of people that would only like exercise their horse for a couple of weeks right before the first sort of team show, which is obviously really bad for the horses because they're going in with, not fully muscled up or anything like that. Whereas this year, I think anyone that's not, no one's got really any excuses to not come into that first show with a fit horse because it's all we can do at the minute is go for hacks.
It's literally all we can do. There's nothing else.
So, I mean, I think, if you're not hacking now and people watching the podcast, you should start hacking now and getting your horses fit because we're only, if you're riding at the nights, that's 4 weeks away. Was it 4 weeks? 5 weeks away. 5 weeks away to the nights.
Yeah, so you got time to give 4 weeks work, give a half week rest, a couple of days.
Yeah, exactly. If you haven't started riding already and you're riding at the nights, you want to be literally starting tomorrow and getting them as fit as you can because you want to give 6 weeks at least, don't you? Really? And for us, we only started doing games training in the last couple of weeks. So before we'd even started doing games, they'd done 4 or 5 weeks of work. Then we started sort of light games, and now sort of we're kind of starting to train a bit more properly with games. So I think it's important for people. There are people that literally just do games, and we're very lucky where we are, and same with you guys in terms of having really good hacks. There's loads of hill work, which makes it really easy to get our horses fit quite quickly. Whereas a lot of people, particularly in the Midlands areas where they're quite limited to having, it's all very flat over in the middle, like sort of Birmingham and the areas kind of thing, so just below where you guys are.
Yeah,
it's kind of flat everywhere, so it's hard to get them fit. But I'm being shouted for food. This might be my last part of the podcast, but I think hopefully all the horses come out of it, even if we're not. So that should be one good thing that's going to come out of this pandemic is the fact that we had all this time that we can actually get these horses properly fit and compete. Because I think it goes sort of four on the bounce, weekend break, and then another 3 or 4 on the bounce again for the shows. So the horses are going to have to be fit. A few of us are lucky to have more than one horse. If you've just got one, you need to be really looking after them and making sure they're for each show and whatever, and not to it's going to come thick and fast when it starts.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be going from Champions League in France to World Team Champs in Scotland. Yeah, got the same pony for both of those, and then those are 2 like super high end competitions.
That's it. I'll probably, if I was to get picked anyway for World Teams, I'd be doing the same because I'd probably be taking Pluto to both. I think with Scotland being on grass, if I was going to get picked, I think Pepe would be. He's just as good because Pepe's just class on grass. He's little rhyme there, class on grass.
Class on the grass.
Is Colin Carson always told me he was the fastest through bending poles that he's seen on grass. Whereas Pluto is much more an all-weather surface kind of horse. He does both. I've been at Newark and we nearly won the World Pairs in 2019. That was on Pluto, so he's good on both. But Pepe's very much a grass horse for that kind of stuff. So I think Champions League, if we finish on the Saturday, and then we're traveling back on the Sunday, and then on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday they'll have rest, I think.
Yeah.
And Thursdays when they start the world team. So yeah, it's just the fact that it's Scotland. So we've got. I mean, you guys will be home. You're a bit closer than us, but we have to go up the whole country to get to it as well. So it's quite a lot.
Workout just traveling.
That's it. So even though they're not doing like work for the Sunday, Monday, they are traveling those 2 days. So yeah, it should be all right. And I think if we don't start till the Thursday, I think it'll be all right to do that. So fingers crossed. Anyway, it all happens. So anyway, I'll love you and leave you guys. But yeah, I'm happy to join again if you want me. No problem at all. I'm loving this shirt, by the way, because I've been working out quite a lot the last few months, and this shirt it's now like cutting on my muscle.
It's because your muscle's so big, bro. You need a bigger shirt.
The first time I noticed it, because the shirt, it just keeps, you can see it creasing on there. There we are.
That shirt's going to restrict your muscle growth, mate.
I love it. No, I love it. Before, that's just been bone there before until now, and now I've actually got some muscle. It's exciting.
Getting huge, bro.
I still only weigh like, I think 1 more kilo than I was. It's weird though. It's the other way around this year, because obviously with all the cost of Europeans, I don't think anyone's putting their name down for Euros, but everyone obviously wants to do Worlds because it's in Scotland, so it's like the opposite to how it normally is. So
Worlds should be pretty good then.
Worlds, yeah. I think hopefully everyone can come from all the nations. I'd have thought they would have if they can, because it's like nothing's happened for 2 years. So you think every country will be keen as fuck to like get a team together of some kind. So it'd be a big world team.
Yeah. So basically, we need to find there must be an English person here somewhere with a bit of South African blood. So we can.
I'll make sure this bit goes on the podcast and share it to everyone. So if anyone's got a bit of South African in you, in the non-sexual tense of it.
Or if they just want to get married, we can arrange this quickly. We need to act fast because Worlds is
ready to marry for the sake of world team.
100%. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Join us next week for another podcast.